My name is Khalil Rose, and this is my informative speech for Communications 100 at Grand Canyon University. Today's date is October 3rd, 2021. In the world of recovery, everyone knows the term AA or NA, otherwise known as Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. Most people know that there are 12 steps in recovery, but many of them only can tell you two at three maybe at most. They can tell you that you must admit that you have a problem, and they can tell you that you must make amends for the wrongs that you've done in the past. Very few may know that there is a religious aspect that requires you to make peace with the power of your own understanding, which we refer to as God. I will explain the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and how it breaks down into three core categories. One, trusting God. Two, cleaning house. And three, helping others. Steps 1 through 3 have to do with surrender. But just what do I mean by surrender? Well, in layman's terms, surrendering means joining the winning team. In this case, I mean God. God has a plan for all of us. And many times we try to become the director of our own play when we are merely just a player. And what we do is we normally mess things up. We don't let God do God's thing. And so what we have to do is we have to realize that, number one, we have a problem with alcohol or drugs and that our lives have become unmanageable. This is the first step in recovery. What that means is that we have to tell the truth to ourselves. We have to actually be honest and say, I can't do this alone. I cannot stop on my own. I do not do well at running my own life, and I need God's help. If you can do that, then you are on your way to hopefully finding the remedy to your illness, which is addiction. Step 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. AA tries to be all-inclusive. NA as well tries to be all-inclusive. So sometimes the word God can make people a little on edge because of past experiences with the subject. So we tend to say power greater than ourselves, but at the end of the day, there is only one power that is greater than all, and that is God. If we can believe that there is a power greater than us that could help us, that could restore us to sanity, that could make our lives better, then we are definitely on our way to step 3, which is turned our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. They add the as we understood Him because none of us has an actual understanding of God. God is this all-powerful, all-knowing, omniscient presence that we really don't understand. We think we do, and we want to drastically, but what we do know is that when we follow God's will, good things happen. It's not always good, but we feel better. And that puts us on the road to gaining a spiritual experience. A spiritual experience in this sense could be anything. It could be waking up every morning and realizing that it's been 30 days since you've had a drink or used any drugs, and that's only because of the power of God. Because if it was the power of me, it would never have happened, because if it would have already happened if it could. Having this spiritual experience, you find them every single day. You find them in people, you find them in places, you find them in things, and you realize that the sun shines a little bit brighter because you were able to trust in God. You have to take the reins away, and you have to give them to God and let God be your pilot. And that is the only way that you can have a spiritual and fulfilling life. Steps 4 through 9 are steps that help you process trauma, and you also need to make amends with people that you've harmed, because there have been many if you were ever an addict or an alcoholic. Step 4 is making a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This means that you must look at all the things that you have done in your life, and you need to, number one, forgive yourself, and then forgive those who may have retaliated based on your actions. As we talked about in step three, which is turning your will over to the care of God, self-will is one of the worst aspects of an addict. Is we try to do things on our own, and we only look out for ourselves. We are only selfish, and we only try to do things for ourselves. And by doing that, we make a lot of enemies. And in those enemies, we think that people have harmed us because they weren't following our guidelines, when what we need to do is see how much we can help other people. So in this list that we make, it's a very extensive list, very admin heavy. We write down the people that we feel have harmed us. We write down what they did. We write down how it affected us, whether it be pride, whether it be monetary, whether it be um, a personal relationship, sexual relationships. We write these things all down, and then we write down our part so that we can see exactly what part we played in the situation. Once we do that, then we sit down with our sponsor or trusted friend, and we admit to God and ourselves and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. This is step 5. And step 5 is basically what it sounds like. We sit down and we speak with someone, and we go over the entire list, and then we write down our character defects and our fears, because fear is one of the number one offenders for why we do the things that we do that may harm other people and ourselves. Step 6, we were entirely ready to move our shortcomings. What this means is that once we have looked at our character defects, we see where we have fallen short in life, and then we make it a point to right those wrongs. Then we're not going to always be able to stop them before they come, but once we see them, we can correct it. Step 7 is ask God to remove every defect of character. As you can see, God still plays a part in all of this. We pray through the entire process. We pray for the power to stop. We pray for the will to remove our shortcomings. We pray for the removal of our defects of character. We pray for the courage to write this list and look at all of our shortcomings and our wrongs. And so this helps us to process the past trauma, because there will be many instances of past trauma which lead us to be so fearful. And it also allows us to become closer to God. Step 8 is making a list of all the people we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Now, this is going to be a very tough process, because there are going to still be people that have harmed us that we did nothing to. Maybe parents, maybe friends, whomever. What we need to do here is realize that the reason we're making this list is so that we can become willing to make amends. Forgiveness is something that's been taught through the ages. Through Jesus taught forgiveness, Moses taught forgiveness. God is about forgiveness, because that is the ultimate love. But we cannot hold on to these transgressions because they hold us hostage. So we need to be willing to make amends to anyone who has harmed us. And I've heard the definition of forgiveness being giving up the right to take retaliation for something someone has done to you. Now, in many situations, we will not be able to make amends to certain people. So step 9 is made amends wherever possible, unless to do so would injure ourselves or others. Now, this is a very, very important process, very, very important step in the process, because we free ourselves from the bondage of whatever trauma is holding us back, whatever's giving us fear. So we'll never be fearless, but we want to be without irrational fears, fear of other people, fear of situations, fear of economic insecurities, things like that. And the only way to do that is to be willing to make amends to anyone we feel has harmed us. Step 10 means is to continue to take personal inventory, and we were wrong, promptly admitted it, because we are not perfect, because we are people who are fallible. We will continue to make mistakes. We will continue to insult people. We will continue to offend people. We will continue to be selfish at times. The point is to be accountable and to make sure that we make amends whenever it is possible, whenever we find ourselves falling short of our intended goal, which is to be a more spiritual individual. Step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for His will for us and the power to carry that out. What that means is that we must pray often and we must meditate often. By doing this, we ask God for help whenever we need to make a decision, whenever something seems out of our reach to make a decision on, or even just to be connected, because that connection is what we all seek anyway. We want to be connected, and the all-powerful love of God allows us to always feel connected with the source of love. And so these are some of the most important steps, because these are what they call maintenance steps. These steps are basically a rehash of the first 9 steps, because this is a continuous process. If you want to continue to be connected to God, you have to continue to reach out. You reach out 10%, God will reach out 90%, and that's been my experience as well. Step 12 is helping others. Okay, it's having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We try to carry this message to other alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs, not some of our affairs, all of our affairs. That means be honest. That means tell the truth. That means have integrity. That means do the next right thing all the time, especially when no one's looking, because that is one of the main aspects of integrity is not putting on a show of it. If you need to give a donation, do it anonymously. Don't leave your name down. We don't do these things for recognition. We do them because we know it's the right thing to do, and God has a plan for all of us, and God's plan is for us to help each other. And so in doing so, this is one of the most important steps to me, because it keeps me in contact with other people. It keeps me in contact with God, and it allows me to build up a self-esteem and self-confidence because of the things that I'm doing that are good in this world. The last part is to repeat the process. Okay, this is not a one-time thing. We will always be doing the 12 steps if we are in recovery. I myself am in recovery, and this is why I chose this speech, is because it's something that's near and dear to my heart, and something that I could pass on to other people and kind of unpack it a little more so that people can have a more in-depth understanding of what it is. Okay, but it is a process that we do over and over and over again. We must always clean house, we must always help others, and we must always trust God. Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Khalil, and this is for Communications 100. I've received all of my references from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, also which is known as the Big Book, but it's just called Alcoholics Anonymous, 4th edition, Volume 4, and from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Both are written by William G. Wilson, also known as Bill W. Thank you very much.